Thank you, Michael. Good evening, everyone. My name is Max Williams. I'll be giving you a presentation tonight on Python Flask and how to use it to build website applications. A bit of an introduction about me. I've been to the last two meetings. I like what I see. I've been in the computer industry for the past almost 20 years. I started out in 2001 working probably like a lot of people in the help desk and tech support. Then I moved on to network operations center, and then I've done work for SAN technologies such as NetApp, as well as I've worked for the Dell account. So I have some experience in there, as well as a little bit of web developing and a little bit of web server development. So one of the things that I was interested in was what can you use Python with? I created a few scripts with Python. I like it. It's a very good general language. But then after looking at you guys and some correspondence with Mike, I was wondering about how to build websites with it. So last month I started learning on it, and I'm happy with what I got so far. And I'd be happy to share that with you guys. So I will go ahead and, if it's all right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and we can get started. Python Flask. It's a micro framework, as most of you are already aware. And it's very good, very quick for throwing up online web applications. And so for tonight, I'm going to simulate that with my, this is a virtual machine. It's very similar to the web server that I have already online. We'll be going through a Ubuntu server version 20.04. Obviously, you're going to need several things to build Flask applications. Number one, you're going to need Python itself. On most Linux and Unix and Apple systems, it comes already installed. But to figure out if you have it installed or not, you can just type the regular command Python 3 and tac version, press enter. I do have it in here. Also, to set up your environment, you're going to need a virtual environment. The reason why you need that is because if you're doing more than one website, you're going to want to put them in their own little sandbox. So there are two familiar and popular virtual environments you can use. You can use either VNV, or you can use virtual ENV. For tonight's discussion, we're going to use virtual ENV. And to install ENV, at least on my server, you just do a sudo apt install, and then it's going to be Python 3 VNV. And then of course you press enter. I already have it installed. And put in my password. You press enter. As you can see, I already have it installed. Another thing that you're going to need is you're going to need the Python package manager, because you're going to need to install some, we're going to need to install some modules. And for that, for my environment, I do a sudo apt install, and then it's going to be a Python 3 pip. I already have that installed as well. So you need Python, you need the Python in a virtual environment, and you need the Python package manager. Once you have all of those things, you're ready to set up your environment. Now, there are several ways of setting up an environment. I'll show you the way that I'm going to do mine. We're going to go ahead and start right from here. This is the home page. I'm going to start by creating a directory that we're going to put all of our packages and everything into. And for this, what we're going to do is we're going to make a folder. So with that, it's going to be make dir, and then we're just going to call it website. Press enter. I'm going to clear the screen. So this is where we're going to put all of our packages at. And here's the reason why. I do have pip already installed. Let me show you how. It's pip3 space and then list. This is going to show you all of the packages that I already have on pip. All right. So as you can see, I've got a lot of packages installed here. This is what we call the global, or what I call it being the global package. And to show you real quick, this is the version of Flask that we have installed. Now, right now it shows that we have Flask version 1.1.2. That's going to be a little significant because that's not the version that we're going to have for our environment. So what we got here, let's see, again, we have the website environment. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our website a virtual environment so that we can install all our packages only in the website folder. And here's how we do that. First thing we need to do is we need to initiate the environment. The way I do that is I type in Python 3 space -m for module, then invoke the venv command, and then we're gonna put in our folder. Press enter, give it a few moments. Now it's initiated. Now we need to activate our environment. In order to do that, we're gonna type in source space and then the folder name, which is website, and then the path, which is bin, and then we're going to type in activate. This will go ahead and activate our environment. And you're going to see a little website right here. Let me show you. So now our website is activated, right? It's in its own virtual environment. And so now what we need to do, give me a second, we can go ahead and download our Python packages just for this. And the way we do that is we're going to download the Flask module. And the command we use for that is just going to be pip3 space install space and then just Flask. And we're going to press enter. Okay. Now, let me see here. Let's look and see what version it has. pip3 show Flask. Okay, this one has the new version, 2.0.1. All right, and that's evident because while we're in this virtual environment, it's going to show the new version. The other version was the global version. I had installed that a month or two ago. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and clear the screen. Are there any questions so far? Everybody's good? All right, good. All right, so now from here, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to go ahead and change directories to our website folder. CD command and then website. And of course, we don't have anything in here. Well, we got the different things that we need for our packages. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a Python file. And this is going to be the application that we use to throw up an application online, a website. And so what we're going to need to do is with your favorite editor, which for me in this environment is going to be Nano. Let me just type in Nano. And then this is going to be the Python file package. You can name it whatever you want for these purposes. Right now I'm going to call it app and then give it a Py extension. Then we're going to press enter. All right, give me a moment to save us a little bit of time. We're going to go ahead, copy and paste everything and just put it in there. And we'll go over the syntax real quick. And with the exception of a few things like this up top here, the rest of this is Python Flask specific. So whether you're on a Mac, Linux, or Windows, the rest of this, you can just go ahead and type it just like that. But starting from the top here, we got this. This is what we call our Shebang. And this just tells the operating system what type of language is going to be running this application. And then on this line, what we're doing is we're importing from Flask, we're importing the Flask module, okay? And with the next line, we have created a variable, and in that variable, with the Flask module, we're using the Flask module to invoke name, which is the application name, which is for us app.py. And so on this next line, per the Flask syntax, we have what is known as a decorator. And that's where you can decide where you want to put your website. And for this one, we're putting it in the root directory. And then from there, we're going to create a function, and we're going to define it with the function name. You can name the function name whatever you want to. For me, to make it simple, I named it home. And then, for the function, you got the parentheses, and then you got the two dots. And then within the function, you're going to give it a return. And the return is going to be an HTML document or HTML code, which for us, to make it real simple, is going to say this is my home page to distinguish it from any of the other page. And I created another page called About, and that does the same thing. That's going to be the About page, and then I created a function, and then in that I put in the HTML code About page. Same thing for contacts. Then once you put all your pages in that you want to, this last bit right here is a conditional statement so that you can run the actual application. This means if the name of our application, which is app.py, is equal to main, okay, meaning all of this is good, then hold on a minute, we're going to go to the next line. And then from there, we're going to invoke the actual server that's going to run on this. So give me a moment. I got the, under normal conditions, it would be app.run and then hyphen. And that would finish everything. From there, we should be able to run this application. Just using it like this is not going to work for me because it defaults to the local IP address, the local loop IP address, which is 127.0.0.1. I have my IP address set to static IP. So I'm going to have to add on a few more parameters for this function. And so we're going to go ahead and do that now. And it's going to be debug, and then that's going to be true. And then we are going to type in the actual static IP address. And we're going to type that in as a string. And that's just going to be 192.168.1.50. And then one other thing, we're going to go ahead and include the port. Now, by default, when you run this application, Flask will open it up under port 5000. But just to be on the safe side, we're going to go ahead and tell it to do that anyway. All right. And then once you do that, we're done with the application. So we're just going to go ahead and save it. Then we're going to exit out. And then that application is made. All right. Now, to run the application, you just run the command Python 3 space and then the application name. You press enter. And this will invoke Python's development server. And then we're just going to come here and we're going to copy down this information. And then I'm going to open up a browser. Give me a moment here. So that's our about page. That was our home page. And let me see, contact. There's our contact page. So that's how we can easily go ahead and throw up website pages. That's not the only thing we can do. We're going to go ahead and continue on and do some other things here. All right, and as you can see, we got the 200 code for the about page, the contact page, and this one was the index page. All right, so that's clear so far. Does anybody have any questions? All right, we'll go ahead and move on. No. Oh, good. Okay. So let's go ahead and shut down our server, our web server. We are going to go ahead and clear the screen. All right. Okay, now for the next option that we're going to do. That was a quick way of throwing up web pages. Now to make it look a little better. Oh, there's also something I should also point out. While using Flask, you're going to need, if you're going to use Flask, you are going to need to be familiar with other web type technologies as far as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, because that's the front end, and that's what you're going to need to use to look at the front end. And then, of course, Python and Flask, it's going to invoke the web server, and from there, it's going to actually have the web server throw out those pages. Now, there's another way of serving the web pages, and that's going to be, you're going to need to, you can put all of your web pages in one folder and have all of that served from that folder. Right. So in order to do that, the default folder that Flask always looks for the HTML folders in is called templates. So we need to make that folder. Okay, and then if you have any CSS or images that you want to serve on the website, you'll need to make another folder, and that's going to be the static folder. All right, and then as I said, these are the two folders that Flask will look for by default. Static, you need to put in your CSS and your images in that, and then templates is where you're going to need to put in your HTML files. And so let's go ahead, and from here, let's go ahead and create our HTML files. So we're going to switch over to the templates folder. All right, and to make the HTML files, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create them. And we're going to do a touch.html and about.html, and then advert.html, contact. Wait, I think I misspelled contact.html. And then we are going to create what is known as a base HTML file. And I'll explain why we do that in just a moment. All right. So we got those done. Now we're going to go through each one, and I already have the code. So we're just going to go ahead and put the codes in them individually. And so give me a moment here using my favorite text editor. We're going to go through each one. And then I'm going to copy and paste them. We're going to put in our code. We're going to save it. Then we're going to exit out. And then we're going to do the same thing for about. I'm doing it this way to show you guys the significance of how to install this stuff. Then we save it. Then we exit it. And now, let's see, we did about. Now we're going to do advert. Okay, save that and exit out. All right, we got index, about, advert, and now we're going to do contact. And then we're going to go ahead and save that and exit out. All right, so we have all of our files in templates. Oops. So we're good to go. Now we're going to change out of that back into our root folder. And now we're going to go ahead and modify the app file. So using Nano again, we're going to open up the app file. Now we're going to do some modifications to that as well. We're still going to keep the import command. We're still going to keep the app command. But we are going to change this right here for all three of them, 3 or 4 of them. The syntax is going to be a little different, but we'll explain it in just a moment. Okay. And this, sorry about that. This is the same syntax, but I believe we added on a few other things. Give me a moment here. And then we're going to do, let's see, about. Oh, sorry. We have to restart the server again. And that's just with the command Python 3 space and then app. Okay. Now we can come back over to a browser. Okay. All right. And so as you can see, we still have the all these HTML files, but now they're being served from the template folder as opposed to being served directly off of the app. And so let's go ahead and stop that. And let's go ahead and open up. And so as you can see, the command is still the same with the return function right here. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next step here. 1 second. All right, so that's all well and good. Now, the next thing we want to see what we can do is we want to add some more content like a cascading style sheet so that we can make everything look good. And we can easily do that. So give me a moment. What we are going to do is we are going to go back into the templates folder. Okay, clear the screen. This is where this is one of the places where Flask does shine. As you guys could see, what I had to do is I had to go through each individual HTML file and add in that code for each individual one. It's all right if you're dealing with under 5, 10 web pages, but when you start dealing with 20, 30, 40, 50, that's just not going to be doable. It's not going to be an efficient use of your time running on your server. So one of the places where Flask does really, really shine is it has a way of you creating and using all of your content from one file. Now, you can call that file whatever you want to. Some people call it the base file. Some people call it the layout file. Doesn't matter what you call it, just so you know that that's going to be the actual file that every other HTML file is going to get all of this content from. And we'll go over that now. So opening up the base file, you guys let me know if I'm saying things that you don't really understand or I'm not explaining it correctly. We'll go over that. With the base file, we're going to use what is known as a template engine. And that template engine, and I'm pretty sure I'm not saying it right, I pronounce it Jinja, Jinja. I'm not sure if that's the correct pronunciation or not, but that is Python's that's Flask templating server, for lack of a better term. And the reason why you can use Jinja is because with Jinja, you can create and build Python code onto HTML format. And so it's a way of embedding Python code onto an HTML file. The syntax is very simple. You start with an open block and then a closed block. So with an open block, as you can see right here, you start with a squiggly bracket, and then you put in the percentage sign. And then you want to start it off by saying block, and then whatever else you want to put the Python code in. For this one, after the head, usually you want to put something in the title. So I just named this block block title. And then we closed it out with the percentage sign and the squiggly bracket, right? And then to close out that Ginger syntax, you can use in block and then again, title, right? And then in between that, we have the title here. This right here is, it's a variable. And we can control what type of information or what type of value we put in the variable from the app.py application. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. But then we go back further down and we have the block again. And this one is for the link so that you can reference your CSS file. All right, so I just named it block link. And then you put in your link information to link to the CSS file. Is link rel equals style sheet. And then you got href equals, and then here, right here, we're gonna need to go back over to the Python application. We'll do that in just a moment. And this is a function that we're gonna need to implement from the Flask module. It's URL_4, and then it's going to reference the static folder, and then the file name within that static folder, which is style1.css. And this is so that all of your CSS content and information can be referenced from all the other websites, from all the other web pages. And then after you do that, you just go ahead and close that syntax with this Ginger syntax right here. And then we got this right here. This is inline CSS that I did for the navigation page. Opened and closed it. And then if we go further down, this is more Ginger syntax, and all this right here, as you can see, I've got a div ID of container, then header, then I got some header tag one for the, in large letters, it'll say go Python, and then I closed it off. All this right here, this is HTML content and code using tags. And then I went ahead and closed that block with the Ginger block here, in block, and then container. As of Python 3.3 or 3.4, you can use this type of syntax with your closing or your in block syntax, for lack of a better term. And then further down on the base page, you can see I call this one block space main. This is the main content that you'll see. We'll see in just a moment off of your base.html file. And then in that, we got some HTML content. And in between that content, we've got two variables. We got a Python variable called page, and then we got one called stuff. And then the information and value that we will use for this, we got to put that in on the other, the app.python application. And I'll show you that in just a minute. All this content, by the way, if you want to download it, if you go to my website, which is maxprosite.com, and you go to the Python projects folder, you go down there, you'll see my link to the free video for this information. And in there, you'll see the code at a GitHub link. But anyway, and I just completed all of this with a block footer. And this is the actual HTML code for that footer. And then I just ended that, Ginger syntax. And so after doing all that, we're going to go ahead and save this. And then we're going to exit out. Now, Now that we did that, what we need to do that is correct. The base extends the templates for all the other HTML pages. That is absolutely correct. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you how. We do have to go back to these individual pages and we have to modify them. And that's going to be a good thing because what we're going to need to do, we're not going to need that much code in each page. And let me go ahead and explain how we're going to do that. So let's start with the About page. So you see all this code right here, we don't need this anymore, right? So we can just go ahead and delete it. Oh, give me a moment. And we're going to go ahead and replace that with this content. Give me a moment. You see, you don't have that much code now because it's all going off of the base HTML. And what you're doing is you're just referencing the about.html file is referencing all of the content from the base.html file. And that's the command you use to reference it. And then again, this value right here says title. We're going to go back to the app.python file, and then we're going to put in the content there. I'll show you that in a minute. And then, of course, the rest of the content from the About page is going to reference the base file. And that's with the block content here, and then the closing in block content. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and save this, and then we're going to exit, and then we're going to do advert. And once again, we don't need this information, so we're going to go ahead and delete all of it. And that's going to be our Ginger code for the advert. And as you can see again, it is also referencing the base HTML file. It's going to have its own title name. And then, of course, you have your open and close Ginger content syntax. And then from here, we're just going to go ahead and save this. And we're going to exit out. And let's see. We're going to go ahead and do contact. All right, and that's pretty much the same code. We're going to save it, exit, and let's see, we're going to do index next. And then we're going to go ahead and delete this. Then we're going to go ahead and put this in. And we're going to save it, exit out, index. There was one more, and that's going to be, I created a test page. That's our test page. We're going to go ahead and save that. We're going to exit out. All right, so as you can see, we already modified each of these pages, and we took out the HTML, and then we replaced it with Ginger code. And so now we're almost done. What we need to do now is we also need to put in the code that we have for our cascading style sheets and for the images. And so we're going to need to move over to static. Okay, and then from there, we're going to need to go ahead and create our style sheet. All right. save it. We're going to exit out. And then one of the last things we need to do is we need to make a folder for our images. And so we'll make this folder. We will change over into the folder. And give me a moment, because what we're going to need to do is I'm going to need to go ahead and transfer all of the images over to that folder. So give me a moment. Are there any questions so far? So if I want to do this much easier for me and use an external editor, can I just drop the files in the website folder? Yes, you can. I'm doing it this way because I'm working off of my web server. This is simulating my web server. And basic convention is when you're working off of a web server, you use command line. But yeah, if you want to use another external editor like what is that, VS Code or something like that, you can do that as well. Yeah, VS Code.
I cannot wait to introduce you to the magical world of the VS Code extension of a remote window. You have your VS Code window, you SSH into your remote machine, and then you just have your editor as your tunnel. It's great.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Okay, they are in there now. We'll do an LS. Those are my two images. Okay, and so let's go ahead and get out of there. Okay, now we will go ahead and open up our app folder, because again, we need to go ahead and make some modifications here. So now this syntax should be a little different. We also need to add on a few more functions, such as template and URL. Give me a moment. And that's going to be render template and URL 4. Okay, so this is the final code, the final modification we have to make. Like the base HTML file, you should be able to handle and put in all of your information for each file also from the app.py application. The route will be the same. The function name will be the same, but then the syntax a little bit for return, you'll actually have the function render underscore template, and that's invoking this function right here. And what the render underscore template is doing is accessing that file in the template folder, depending on which file that you wanted to access. For this one is doing the index.html file. And then remember how we were talking about the title variable? You go ahead and put in the title equals, and then you add your value from here, which for index would be home page. And then we have the page variable and the stuff variable. And then you just put your value over here, right? And so that's what I did for each page. Now, this is a bit rudimentary. This is a bit simple, even for me, but I wanted to make sure people understood that you can administer all of your pages from just two pages, the base.html page and your app.py. And your app.py, of course, can be named whatever name you want to call it. And then from here, you should be able, if you've got like 10, 20 pages, you should be able to administer all of those pages just from those two applications. I hope that's understandable. The page and stuff parameter. The page is going to be actually the content, right? And then also you're going to see in the stuff, that's just going to be content on the website, on the web page itself. And I'll go ahead and show it to you. Give me 1 second. Those get substituted into the template. Yes, they get substituted into the website itself. Are those default Flask variables, or did you declare them somewhere? Yes, better answer. I declared them in this actual file right here. Of course, you can name them whatever you want to. Is that okay? You are passing the value to H. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are correct. I am. Give me a moment here. We'll go back to the website. Did I explain that right? Okay, you are passing the value to, yeah. Is that understandable? You are correct, sir.
Another way of putting that is the render template. The first argument is the string, the name of the function or the template that you want to pull up. And then in the function definition, they're using $*quargs that allows you to just put whatever variables you want to, and it just gets passed to the template. So as long as it doesn't break Python, you can put whatever you want in there and as much as you want.
Oh, all right. Florence asked if I would show her where I declared the page and the stuff, like a function call in Python. So, just a minute. So let's take the about page, right? So I have the two variables, page and stuff, right? So then I put in my value here, right? And because of the Jinja syntax, let's get out of here. And we will go to templates. And then we will open the about page. Now, for the about page, let me see here. Flask will substitute the stuff. Okay. Well, maybe about is not a good one because I don't have anything in that one. Okay, I have title. Let's scroll down. Here we go. We have page and stuff. Now that's being referenced from the app.py page. We put in the value that we want, and it shows up here through the Jinja syntax. Does that answer your question, Florence? Yes, okay. And then, of course, we can go ahead and we start server again. Second. And then we come over here, and this is what we see. Make it a little bigger. And then as you can see, I got this title right here. I got the home page. And then I have my links on the far left-hand side. Maybe I need to maximize it. There we go. And then you can go to the links. You know, you have the about page. This is the about page. This is the contact page. It's the advert page. And of course, this is the test page. That's correct, Brian. Sorry, I guess I didn't explain that correctly. And that's basically it. That's what I use to throw up a web page with Flask. Any other questions? Okay. If you guys want to see my my YouTube my YouTube version of this, if you go to my website, maxprosite.com, and go to Python projects, I have the link right here to the YouTube video. There's about 6 or 7 of them. That will be in next month's presentation. I will show you guys how to go ahead and actually upload this information to an actual web server. You can do it with either Apache or with Nginx, but we will go ahead and show you how to do it from Nginx. And the way you do that, I can go ahead and just give you a preview. You can use a virtual, we call it a VPS, virtual private server. And when you install your own virtual private server, you can install the Python packages that way, which I'll be showing you in our next meeting next month. I'll also have a video up on that as well. And so that's it, or at least that's what I did to use it. And that completes the presentation, unless anybody else has any questions they'd like to ask. I'll try and answer them. There's the information to the Python projects, and then from there you come over here to Python Flask, and that will take you to this video presentation, as well as Michael's YouTube link. Well, thank you all. I appreciate your patience. I know I was kind of convoluted and going everywhere, but oh, thank you. I think we got the job done. Appreciate it, Brian. Thank you. Okay.
Excellent talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.